decade new show. Zach Keenan, Eric Ruby, the House Hardcourt is back.
I am so excited, not only for the House Hardcourt, not just to be back with all the people in the house, but for basketball. It's going to be so much fun, and it's going to be an exciting time.
Sun Devils hot off a win against Utah. The Utes, Arizona, coming up next.
Oh, man, but a tough game for ASU. But our own Mason Kern went to Sun Devil practice to get the latest quotes and storylines from the team.
Yeah, thanks, you guys. And as we all know, the last time these two teams played each other this season, it was a bit like a whirlwind. And the Sun Devils were blasted out of the McHale Center in Tucson en route to a 30-plus point victory by the Wildcats. Now, this time around, Arizona State has reason to be more confident, especially because they're finding their three ball at the right time.
It was encouraging to see us shoot really well from three in our last game, and that's not going to mean that that's going to happen on Saturday, but I would sure rather be going into that game coming off a confidence-building offensive performance.
Rob is playing the way he's playing. Verge and Tayshaun are hitting shots. So for me, I always have confidence no matter, the up and downs that we've gone. I've always stayed through the course. I've always, thought the best of my teammates because they show me that they put in the work. So it's all about clicking at the right time, and I think we will.
Before the Fighting Charlie Turner Thorns make the trek to Tucson to play Arizona, there's a few things you should know. The team hasn't lost since January 3rd, and there was great potential to say the team hasn't lost this decade or the team hasn't lost this year, but their 5-game win streak began after falling at UCLA 68-66. Since, the team has routed USC, upset the number 2 and 3 ranked teams of Oregon and Oregon State, beat up on Washington, then pulled off a come-from-behind win against Washington State. In the past 5 games, the Sun Devils have outscored their opponents 322-273. They're ranked 16th in the country and 4th in the Pac-12 standings. After beating number 2 and number 3, a 16 rank sounds disrespectful, but their 4 losses include unranked teams. Senior transfer Jatavia Tapley has been the difference maker this season. She's averaging team highs in points per game, steals, blocks, and rebounds, and is second on the team in assists. She started 26 of USC's 30 games last year and is a much more welcome presence in Tempe than LA, especially after tallying 20 points against the Cougars last weekend to put the Sun Devils ahead. But a team can't win without a coach, and as much of a surprise that Tapley has been, there's a cornerstone of this team in her 23rd season with the program, Charlie Turner Thorne. Charlie just won her 499th career game as a head coach against Washington State and now seeks her 500th win in the perfect opportunity to do so, Arizona. They still want to be called that. After falling to the Wildcats earlier this season in a close game, there's a few things this team needs to change before round 2 of the Territorial Cup heavyweight matchup. For one, this team takes a bit to get started. Once they get going, don't get me wrong, there is no turning back. But the game against Washington State was a reminder that this team needs a jolt sometimes to get moving. The team played from behind for most of the first round of the Territorial Cup in December, and if they want to see a different result, they need to come out of the tunnel blazing hot tomorrow.
Great stuff, as always, from Zach Keenan. But now, let's take a look back and a little bit of a peek forward for that. We're going to bring in Rob Werner. Now, Rob, 2 games ago, Colorado, number 20 ranked, comes into Tempe, and they play ASU, and ASU doesn't have a great night on the offensive side of the ball. End up losing that game 68-61. What went wrong for Bobby Hurley's squad on the offensive side?
Well, Eric, it is important to note that Colorado is one of the best defensive teams in the Pac-12, but ASU just didn't really stick to what was going best for it in that game. Romello White had a nice night, 19 points, 10 rebounds. He was very effective in the paint, but ASU kind of got away from giving him the ball in the second half, particularly when Colorado made a big jump. And the outside shooting wasn't working for ASU. Remy Martin shot 23 times, scored a game-high 25 points, but 23 is very inefficient for him. Rob Edwards, 3 of 12 shooting. It just wasn't working, and they weren't able to get the ball to White, who was really excelling on the night.
Well, one game they only score 61 points, and they lose. The next game they blow out Utah. What changed?
Well, Utah is one of the youngest teams in the conference. They started all underclassmen in that ball game. They're also the last team in the conference standings. But ASU, its complementary pieces did a better job in that game. Tayshaun Cherry, Alonzo Verge, Rob Edwards started shooting the ball better. It took the pressure off of Remy Martin and Romello White, and those two actually had a very nice night when they weren't depended on to do that.
All right, well, let's take a quick look ahead at the U of A game, but in order to do that, we're going to take a couple steps back. A few weeks ago, ASU, U of A, first matchup of the new year. ASU doesn't even have a chance in the McKale Center in Tucson, gets blown out. What do they have to do differently this upcoming game to change that outcome?
I think they definitely need to start with intensity right from the get-go. They're going to be at home, have their home crowd. It's a rivalry matchup, so you never really know what's going to happen. But this was a tough game for Arizona State last time around. A 27-point defeat. That was with Nico Mannion shooting just 3 of 9 from the field. I don't know if you can expect that again, but I think ASU needs to definitely have the momentum in terms of the intensity early on in the ballgame. The crowd needs to be going crazy. I still don't know if that's enough to overcome a 27-point deficit they lost by last time, but it should be another interesting game.
Well, if there's one thing we've learned is that in any territorial cup matchup, anything can happen. You never know what might just go down. But you know what will happen when Rob Werner is on the house, and that's always Bring Great Analysis. Thanks for joining us.
On a day synonymous with new beginnings, the Sun Devils have a second chance at a fresh start. This Saturday is Chinese New Year. The last time ASU faced off with its enemies down south following a new year, it didn't go too well as they were blown out, losing by 34 in Tucson. This time could be different. It has to be if the Devils have any hope at competing in the Pac-12. But how? Well, Chinese New Year is actually the night the most fireworks are shot off in the world, and ASU's only shot in this game is if they put on an explosive show for the fans. The ASU fans are notorious for distracting and in creating an extremely tough environment for opposing players. You remember what happened last year, right? Remy Martin raining down threes got the fans into the game, and once they were there, that game was over. The more fast break points, big threes, and strong defensive plays they have, the better, as it will keep the fans locked in and loud. If the Sun Devils can start off hot and keep Arizona star Nico Mannion cold, they may just be able to celebrate a victory on the night of the biggest party in the world. I can guarantee there will be fireworks on Saturday night in China and around the world. The only question is, will we see any in Tempe? Eric, what are your plans? Chinese New Year, food, what do you got going on?
Well, I'm not sure yet. You know, if you see anything, let me know. I'm always looking to have a good time. But I will say Chinese New Year, definitely my second favorite New Year.
A plate full of lo mein, maybe some orange chicken, something like that. You know, I think I could whip something up.
Oh, that sounds like a good time. Unfortunately, our good time here at the house is ending, but only for this week. We'll catch you guys next week for everybody else in the studio and the analysts on the show. Thanks for watching The House.